What I want to know is more about, you say you can never get it wrong. I want to understand that. As I have the fear, the various complaints that goes on inside of me, the various noise inside of my head, what I want to know is to allow myself to accept. What is it that's there within my life, within our lives, that keeps saying, I'm doing it wrong, I'm doing it wrong?
Well, it's not hard to figure that one out. We'll give it to you easily here, because what happens, you see, most physical beings are not taught that they are extensions of non-physical energy, and most are not encouraged to pay attention to the way they feel as they are having life experience. And it is only when you are paying attention to the way you feel that you can understand what you're doing about your connection to source energy in that moment. Mm-hmm. So instead of paying attention to the way you feel as you are flowing energy, allowing it or not allowing it, most people are instead taught to look at the results of the way energy has been flowed. So people are, for the most part, look at manifestations, and so they say, well, these are good manifestations, but these are bad manifestations. And then what happens is they sort of get into a battle mode as they fight about which really are the good manifestations and which really are the bad manifestations. And so many different people have so many opinions about what you should or should not do. In other words, you just can't stand on your head in enough different ways to please them. When you are beings as you are in your humanness, who are socializing, what happens is, and we can understand how people come to this fear or this feeling, because if you don't understand that you are the attractor of your own experience, and if you don't understand that you can tell by the way you feel whether you are in a vibrational place that you're letting in things that will please you, or whether you're in a vibrational place where you're not letting in the things that will please you. And instead, you're looking at the results of the way others have flowed energy, and you see these things like sickness or getting run over by trucks or things not wanted. We could understand how you would want to then begin to manage the manifestations in order to have a better life experience. It's like, since I don't understand that I'm the attractor of my own experience, and I see someone out there robbing or raping or killing, then I may feel like I have to do something about them, or I may have to protect myself from them. And never realizing that all attention that I give to them just makes me more of a vibrational match to them. So then they come closer. So then I think, well, I've got to do more. So then they come closer, and then I think I've got to do more. The best analogy that we have for this: pretend that someone is giving you a radio, and it's the first one you've ever seen. And you understand the basic concept of it. You know that there are broadcasting towers out there, and you accept that your radio somehow is a receiver. So you plug your radio in, and what you hear is just awful. You cannot believe that has come into your house. And so then, if you are approaching this in the way many humans are approaching their physical experience, you'd want to get rid of that tower. You might devote your life to getting rid of those towers. You might pass legislation against them, or you might take it into your own hands and just go out and chop them off at the ankles and tip them all over. You might devote your entire life to stopping the broadcasting of that which you are not wanting to hear in your house, when all along, all you needed to do was adjust the dial on your own set, you see. And so the answer to your question is, most people are not understanding that they can adjust their own dial. What we are wanting you to recognize is that you are connected to source energy, and that source energy lets you know in every moment how you are doing. But you have to be willing to pay more attention to the way you feel than to what other people are thinking about you. In other words, you have to once and for all let the guidance come forth from within you. And you have to be more like your cat. Have you ever noticed your cat does not really care all that much what you think?
Definitely.
Your cat sets its own tone. Your cat continues to thrive. Sometimes your beasts, when they become domesticated, begin to act a little bit like you. But what we are getting at is that what keeps people from understanding, allowing the well-being that is natural to them, is paying so much attention to so many opinions that are outside of them.
what about the, it's not really assertion, but the idea of a person observes someone else and they're very confident about their opinion, and that affects other people. You've mentioned Jesus seeing a person in their most positive state, and that's how he was able to affect healing in other people.
You're talking about influence?
Influence, I guess, yes.
Take it a little further.
So the idea of someone has a negative opinion about someone else and they're very confident about that negative opinion. Does that affect, how does that affect the other person?
Here's the thing, that as you care more about your connection to source energy, in other words, let's say that you've been holding some thoughts and you've been basking, you've been appreciating, you're feeling rather well, and you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You're connected to source energy. And as you move through the day, you begin to observe some things wanted and some things not wanted. And so about midday or a little bit into the early afternoon, you're not as well connected as you were, because you've begun to observe things wanted and not wanted. And now your vibration has become a little more cluttered, and you are not allowing the full, pure connection that is really who you are. And in that vibration, someone comes into your experience who has a very strong opinion about something, and they express it to you. Now, their opinion would not affect you unless you ponder it and hold it and think about it. In other words, you have to chew on it a little while before it affects your vibration. And as you do, it is true that what they're thinking and feeling may begin to affect you. A good way of looking at this is when you were little and your grandmother adored you. In her appreciation of you, she was connected to source energy. And as she holds you as her object of attention, she floods that pure positive energy all over you. And you say, ooh, this feels so very, very good. I'm liking this feeling. And then what happens to you, because most of you are not aware what that is, that it is a feeling of connection. You associated it with your grandmother. Now what happens is you start looking around for other grandmothers that will flood you with pure positive energy. And there aren't that many of them. In other words, most of them are interested in their own life. In other words, it's when you have the benefit of being in the gaze of someone who knows that all is well, and someone who accepts and adores you as you are, it is a very life-giving experience. But there is a little distortion if you begin to expect your connection to source energy to always come through that other person. And that's what happens with so many of you. You love that feeling of approval. You love that feeling of appreciation because it is source energy being flooded, but you cannot guarantee that they will even hold you as their object of attention, or even if they do, that they will be able to maintain their connection to source energy while they do. In other words, if grandmother's having a bad day, she's not flooding pure positive energy all over you, you see. And so it is about, that's why we are wanting you to establish your own connection to source energy. We're wanting you to, that's why so many teachers teach meditation. When you meditate, which means you are awake, but not offering resistance, so that you have a conscious awareness of what it feels like to be in that higher vibration. What happens is it activates your sensitivity so that you are then more aware when you are not vibrationally up to speed with who you really are. So let's talk just a little bit more about what you were asking earlier. So how can I maintain my connection to source energy when I live in a world that I am observing that may not be vibrationally up to speed? And we say you approach your life experience in the way you would approach a buffet of food or a smorgasbord, where there's all kinds of things there, some of which you like and some which you do not like, and you say, yes, I'd like some of that, and yes, I'd like some of that, and yes, I'd like some of that. And in a very light, easy, discerning manner, you say, no thank you to that, and no thank you to that. In other words, you are not asking for that, you are asking for that, but you're not holding any strong, you don't say, oh, green beans, how could they ever have put such a horrible thing on this buffet? I want it not. Who here in this line agrees with me that this should be banished from the food line? Please sign my petition here, and I will take it into my hands to make sure that this horrible thing never shows up on the... You don't look at it that way. You just take what you are wanting. And that's the way you intended it. As you made the decision to come forth into this physical time-space reality, the variety of it was seen as a very good thing. You said, all of this variety will serve us so very well, because out of this variety we can choose or yes our way into the perfect vibrational experience. And so as you are approaching your physical life experience that way, and someone says to you, I don't like you for this reason or this reason or this reason, and they are an authority on some subject, look at them and love them for their opinion, and love the contrast, because you are really wanting there to be a great variety in your buffet. You're really not wanting. Sometimes our physical friends think they would like that. But we promise you, you did not say, I will go forth into the physical experience and let's take all the ideas that exist and whittle them down to just a few good ideas. You said, let's go forth and take the ideas that exist and expand them. Let's let the library be vast, and then as individuals, we will attune to the vibration of our preference, and law of attraction will sort it all out. There is no danger of me getting green beans on my plate if I do not want them, because there is no assertion. There is no green bean asserter, or any other kind of asserter in the universe, you see. And so when you finally get that, then you come to the conclusion that what they think of me really does not have anything to do with me. And of course, if they are adoring you, give your full attention to it. If they are not, then turn your attention from it. And what you will begin to do is set your own tone. And as you set your own tone, fewer and fewer and fewer of those disapproving beings will make their way into your experience.
Right.
They are extremely well-meaning in most cases. They want the world to be a better place. They're just approaching it from the outside in, and it's not working very well for them. They have not yet come to know about law of attraction. They do not understand their connection with source energy. They're believing in piles of stuff, and they believe that these piles have the ability to assert. And they really, 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 really want, in most cases, to just get the bad piles off somewhere where they cannot affect. But the problem with that is you've been killing one another eternally over this subject of which really are the bad piles and which really are the good piles. You cannot come to any consensus on most of that stuff. And so you just make yourselves nutty as you spend your lifetimes sorting through the piles, instead of paying attention to the way you feel as you are giving your attention to what you are observing, you say. Yes. Helpful? Did we get at what you were reaching for?
I think so. I need to.
Yes.